everybody, all you bread bakers out there or those who want to learn. Mrs. Rani is here and I'm going to show you today how to make bread. But as I was thinking about making bread, I was thinking about how many times bread is mentioned in the Bible. 366 times it's mentioned. Abraham was visited by 3 angels in the Old Testament, angels sent by God. And Abraham, it says in Genesis 18:4, "Rest yourselves under the tree while I bring a morsel of bread, that you may refresh yourselves." Bread is mentioned all through Exodus. The Israelites celebrated many special feasts involving bread. We move into the New Testament. In John 6:35, Jesus said, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will not hunger." The Lord's Prayer, part of the Lord's Prayer mentions bread. Our Father who art in heaven, you know that prayer. Give us this day our daily bread. That involves all of our basic needs. We're praying that God will give us whatever we need to see us through the day. And in our communion service, what do we serve? Wine or grape juice we use, and bread. So you see how very important bread is. All right, well, let's get started on this process. Over in my kitchen, as you can see, and I hope you'll do this too, is you measure out all of your things, get all your equipment out, and have it ready to go. So I did not plug in my kettle. I'm going to plug that in now. And in our large bowl, we are going to put, we have the 2 tablespoons of butter. Oops, it doesn't come out, so I am actually going to use my little spatula. Grab this, just follow along. So 2 teaspoons of salt. That goes into your large bowl. And then we have our cup of rolled oats. Pour that into the bowl. Okay, just a hint. When you copy down your recipes, I have found this so useful to keep my brain straight. When I write tablespoon in my recipes, I'll put capital T, capital B, SP for the tablespoon. For the teaspoon, I'll do lowercase t, s, p. That keeps my brain straight because you do not want to mix those up in a recipe. Okay, just a little hint there. All right, so now we are just waiting for the water to boil, and it'll be just 2 seconds here. In the meantime, I'm going to show you this. All right, so we have in here, I have filled up my bowl with hot tap water. Now, because I had bread recipes fail so many times when I was learning, I learned to take extra special care to keep the yeast nice and warm, all the utensils nice and warm while it rises. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to put this in the sink. It's a glass measuring cup. I am pouring this hot water into the glass measuring cup. Just pour it all in. Keep the bowl nice and warm for the yeast to rise. I'm putting it on the towel here. And I am going to wrap the towel up. After so many failures in bread, I didn't want to take any chances of the yeast going wrong. So I am wrapping this up and just tuck it all in around so it's nice and warm. Yeast will not rise in a cold environment. Into this bowl where I'm going to rise the yeast, I have 2 teaspoons of sugar. This is my 2 tablespoons of yeast, but we don't want to put that in yet. Come back over here. This is now fairly hot water. What I want you to do is very carefully pour it on your hand first. Test it on your wrist. If it doesn't burn, it's quite warm, but you don't want it burning. So I just pour it on my wrist. It feels really good. So I want 1 cup of warm water. Okay, there's our cup of warm water. So I'm putting it in here. Now, you You could swirl your bowl around or just stir it with a spoon just to get it all dissolved in there. Next thing you're going to do is pour your yeast in. Just sprinkle it all over the top. There we go. Now, I did leave a little bit of fabric here because I want to cover this yeast. I took lots of precautions for my yeast. You don't want your bread recipe to fail. Now what you need to do is you have to time the rising of your yeast. Do not go past 10 minutes or your yeast won't be strong enough to raise your bread. Okay, our kettle's boiled here, our water's boiled. I'm going to take my measuring cup once again, and I want 2 cups of boiling water. Please be very careful when you're pouring the water. You don't want any of that to splash on you. And then immediately you're going to pour this boiling water into your bowl. Okay, now take your mixing spoon and just mix it all around. You want that butter to melt in there. If your butter's really, really hard, you might want to just soften it a little bit in the microwave. Okay, so this is going to sit until it becomes lukewarm. It'll become lukewarm by the time your yeast has risen. So that is the first part. So I'll be back after the yeast is all risen. I'll show you what it looks like. It's very cool. And we're back. Now, if you have a look at the yeast, this is what your yeast should look like. It's doubled, even more than doubled in size. It's nice and fluffy. So we're going to go over here. And first of all, you're going to put your molasses in. Just pour it all in. I have a little spatula here. I'm going to scrape it all out. Give the molasses a little stir. And after 10 minutes, this mixture is cool. Pour that in. All of your yeast. Okay, now I use the traditional rye yeast. If your family uses the quick rise yeast, this is where you would put in the quick rise yeast. You just sprinkle it on your nice warm mixture. It's the same thing. All right, give that a stir. Now comes time for the flour. Now this is where you kind of need a strong arm, because it gets very thick after you add the flour. Right now, I'm going to add the whole cup. I'm going to stir this up. Whoops, try not making mess. There, stirring it all up, and make sure it's all mixed in, because if you don't mix it in very well, the flour starts to clump, and then you'll get clumps in your dough and very hard to get out. Okay, so now you can see how liquid it still is, right? So I'm going to add another cup. Now, during the 10 minutes that the yeast was rising, I used that time to clean up my utensils a little bit. You want to try and keep your workstation clean and neat. Not only will it help you to keep track of things and not get confused, your mom will love it that you're cleaning up after yourself. Very important when you're baking. Try to keep your workstation neat. Okay, it's getting thicker. Let's add another cup here. Okay, and we'll stir that up. And now, the next cup, I believe, I put in 3. Next cup, it's going to be very hard to stir. And then we'll be ready to pour it out onto the counter and knead it. And I'll show you what kneading is. Okay, let's do another one. Now, in this bowl here, I have measured out 8 cups. We might need a little bit more when it comes to kneading it, but I have left my flour container out. But if you start with 8 cups, that'll get you going. Okay, well, this is where you kind of need the strong arm. It's getting thicker. Okay, see how it's getting thicker? It's still soft, which is what you want. You add too much flour, then you can't mix it in very well, and the bread doesn't rise that much. Okay, I think I'm going to put in a partial other cup, so I'll just sprinkle it over the top. Okay, yeah, see how it's getting thicker now? Now it's not sticking as much to the bowl, and that's where I want it. So we're ready now to take this over. I want to mention too, whatever you're baking, when you're measuring out the flour, do not shake it down to get your full cup. Flour will compact so much that you'll get too much. You'll get more than a cup in that flour. So when you measure your flour, let me just grab my bowl here. When you measure your flour out of the bucket, take your finger, fill in the gaps, and take it across. Don't shake it down. That's about the only thing you don't shake down. All right, so now what I'm going to do is here, sprinkle a really nice pile of flour on. Then I'm going to get this out of here. Now it's still quite sticky, I know, but once I get most of it out, I'm going to take some flour, I'll sprinkle it on the spoon, and I'm going to scrape it off. This is the part I don't like. I don't like the sticky part. I'm always so glad to wash my hands after this is all done. Okay, now see how the flour just unsticks it from the spoon. And I'm going to do the same on the back. Push that dough off a little bit more. Now all this flour that we have here, this is what's going to be needed, pushed into the bread. Okay, now I still have quite a bit of stuff in here, so I'm just going to splash some flour in there. Now, at this point, make this easier to wash after. Put some hot water in it. I'll put the yeast bowl in there. Okay, just let that fill up a bit. Okay, here comes the fun part. All right. Okay, just turn off that water. There we go. Okay, now first when you start, it's going to be sticky. Woo, I don't like the sticky. Anyway, there. Just get lots of flour in there. And you see how I'm working it with my hands. So, and from this point, I'm going to check the clock. Okay, I'm going to need this for about 10 minutes, but I'll show you just how you're going to do it. So, do you see how I'm turning it? So, we've got it long, so I'm folding it over and I'm pushing it. Fold it over and push it. Okay, do that till it gets too long. Turn it, fold it over and push it. Now, my hands are still getting mucky. So, a little bit more flour. And once the flour gets on there and it's not sticky anymore, you know, it's good. I like kneading. I like kneading the flour. So a little bit more here. And this is what you're doing. Now, I have my bucket here. I still have lots of flour in my bowl. So 8 cups is about the right amount to measure out. Okay. And you just keep, whoops, let me move that so you can see. Okay, friends, that's what I'm going to be doing for the next 10 minutes. You do that too? Okay, I've been kneading this dough for 10 minutes now. I think I'll just make it kind of a long shape because I have to cut it in half. This is going to give us 2 pans of bread. So if you'll come closer, the way you can tell that it's kneaded enough, if you press on the top, it'll bounce back. Okay, this is bouncing back. You see that? Okay, so I've kneaded that. I'm going to grab my big knife and I'll just cut it in half. Now, you can also try doing buns. If you wanted to do buns, what you do is just cut off little pieces of dough. Don't stretch it. Cut it off and make little round buns. Put them in a muffin container. Okay, so what I'm doing right here, just getting rid of that sticky part so it doesn't stick to the bowl. Okay. And the sticky part where I cut it. Okay. I like to use metal. These bread pans are nice and deep, and you're going to see that they are going to double in size. So you want nice deep bread pans. And I'm going to pour, this is just plain ordinary, what have I got here? Canola oil. So just a big drop in there and a big drop in there. Now I know these are already coated pans, but I find that sometimes when the bread is rising in the oven, it gets a little bit stickier with the heat. So I like to add a little bit of oil. Okay, so next thing, I've got my pastry brush. You can use your fingers. Get in the corners really well because that tends to be where the bread is going to stick. So I'm just doing the sides. This pastry brush works really well. It's kind of like a little brush with rubber bristles. And like I said, your fingers will do really well too. Just get that all mixed in there. Okay, we're going to mix it around. And now we're going to shape our dough into the loaves and put them in the bread pans. Okay? And so just play with it, mix it around, make it a long piece, the same shape as your pan. Now, chop just a little bit of an end, and you're going to fold it under, play with it a little bit more, chop, fold it under, and reshape your loaf into a nice loaf for your bread pan. Okay, I think I'm happy with that shape. I put it in here. The other one too, just shape it. Make it a nice long shape here. Chop it a little bit. Just makes a nice end, nice looking end on your bread. And chop it. Okay. There, that's looking like a nice little shape. If your bread isn't, perfectly shaped, don't worry about it. It's still going to taste good. All right, so I'm going to put it in there. Sometimes I'll just shape it a little bit more in the pan. And then I take back my brush and this. Okay, I'm going to pour a little bit of oil on the top. This will help the bread to not dry out as it's rising. It's going to rise for 1 hour in your preheated oven. Now use a preheated oven because I want to make sure it works out. I've had bread recipes where once we had a wood stove and had a warmer on the top, I put the bread in the warmer oven to rise. It cooked on the outside, very, very doughy on the inside. So I learned my lesson that wood stoves are very, very hot. Okay, this is about done. I've got the ends and the top all brushed with oil. Now, I'm taking my bread pans over here to the oven. I have a sign here because I have forgotten to turn my oven off when I turned it up to 220. So, clear. Oven is off. Get my other bread pan. Now, these are going into the nice warm oven to rise for 1 hour. After the hour, you're going to take them out, put them on top of your stove, set your oven for 350. And you will bake your loaves all at the same time. You'll bake them for about 20 to 30 minutes. Just check and see if they're, nice and brown on top. But 20 or 30. Start with 20 and then decide from there on. a hint I want to give you about cleaning up. I hope all of you will clean up after yourselves, not leave your kitchen a disaster for Mom to come into. Okay, this I'm going to throw in the garbage, but this here, you can see some stuff are stuck on my board. Now, I usually do it on my counter. This stuff is very hard to get off if you don't do it this way. And scraping your counter to get all the crust off, this gooey stuff, will ruin your counter. You'll scratch it. So what I usually do is I will take a hot, wet cloth, and I'm not squeezing it out totally, and I'm going to squeeze it on my board. Spread the water where the sticky parts are, and let it sit for a couple minutes. After it has sat for a couple minutes, it loosens all that sticky dough. I will take a plastic spatula. Take a plastic one. The steel one will scratch your counter. Take a plastic one, and you see how it scrapes off so easily. I used my board today so you could see the technique of kneading it better. But usually I like to do it on the counter. See, all of this stuff comes off. And then if there's still gooey stuff, I'll take a paper towel, wipe that off first, and then wash it in the sink. Okay, friends, well, I hope your bread turns out really, really well. I hope you become bread bakers. Try some other recipes because the basics of making bread is all the same. Okay, this has been fun. Enjoy your homemade bread. Hey, here we are back. The bread is baked and it smells wonderful in here. Now, at the top, at the beginning of our videos, I mentioned a Bible verse from John 6:35. It says, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will not hunger. I'm going to explain just a little bit about that. Now, that verse doesn't mean a tummy hunger. It means a spiritual hunger. And it's a hunger that occurs deep, deep, deep down inside of all humans that longs to be loved and cared for by God. Now, some people try to fill that deep place inside of us with sports and hobbies, making lots and lots of money, alcohol and drugs, unfortunately. But only accepting Jesus into your life will fill that deep place and satisfy that longing to be loved and cared for by God. Now, how do you accept Jesus? Well, you just talk to him as if he were sitting in front of you. Go to your quiet place and invite him. Invite Jesus to come into your life to show you how to leave all those sins behind that make your life so miserable. When Jesus is a part of your life, you'll never be alone again. Never, ever. He will always care for you. Care for all your needs, whatever you need in life. And you'll never need to be afraid anymore. Jesus will help you to be strong when you pray to him. And best of all, you'll live forever with God in heaven. Listen to Revelation 21, verses 3 and 4. Behold, the dwelling place of God is with man. He will dwell with them, and they will be his people. And God himself will be with them as their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning, like deep, deep sadness when somebody dies, or crying, nor any pain anymore, for the former things have passed away. That's our promise when we have Jesus living in our life, among all kinds of other promises that you'll find in God's Word. Well, I hope everyone has enjoyed baking their bread and, best of all, eating their bread. And when you eat your bread, remember Jesus being the bread of life. Okay, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.